27. Now it's 127. It's 127. So that's 1 9. So that's 19, which is 01. And it is June 1st, 2024. And I'm Princess Chastia. Today I'm on here just for all of you that have been following and are in the know about what's been going on the past 7 years and the separation and the split that's happening with collective projectors as we've been coming through this rebirth. This message is for you. This message is also for all the psyops and the collective that has been using our codes to write against us. Ooh, did you see that? And the collective. This message is for you too. The astronomy right now is off the chain. We had Mars jump Chiron a couple of days ago. And Mars, and I want to talk about that for a second because man, this is the most difficult set of transits that the collective has ever gone through in the history of the wheel. When you're in the wheel and you're tuned to the cosmos, realize that the arc pillars, the Mason's arc pillars, which are on the High Priestess card, how that projects in a simulation I've described over and over and over again with the M suns and the dials and all the different M suns that exist in the in-between. It really is, the cosmos is a giant collective projector. Since we're all in the wheel, and this is what our collective has done, is rebirth the real cosmos, not projecting it into a G H gate. Because if you go look at the pillar system and how it works, you've got the planets on one side, you've got the stars and the cosmos on the other side, and then those two project in, and then that's where the G is, and it's off in the distance, and you can think of that as Orion, and you can think of Orion star systems as those 1980s big screen TVs that we had with the red light, a green light, and a blue light. And then those big red, blue, and green lights project all the rest of the colors and the pixels on the screen. But remember, the lights were on this side and projecting that way on the big screen. Remember that? Okay, well, that is how Orion works. And it's what this entire simulation, all the sacrifices, all the rituals, all of it was done that way because it was after death timelines. And all of our energy is running off of each other's energy in one big bubble. So Chiron really is, Chiron is an asteroid. I believe on the charts it's tuned to, I think it equals Bellatrix. Chiron is basically the wounded warrior Akashic Library. You can think of it like that. You can think of who is Rapresh Raj. All your message are being you're retracting all your messages. Okay. I'm just warning you. Because I just undid the entire Saturn mind map that I put together to get out of New Orleans. So if anybody over here that's messing with me, like I'm done warning you. All of this attempt in order to keep certain countries in charge of other countries is what caused this radioactive simulation to explode, which is what's happening today. The bottle breaks today. I've already made the commands. Every single being that was using Universal Studios, any of the industry stuff that was involved in any NATO dictatorship, presidential stuff, anything, any cult, any druid information, y'all are now tuned to Saturn through the sun. And you and everything that you have written on the collective is going to happen to you and the collective that did it. It's not going to happen to the collective. Any movies that were made in order to alter timelines and to mess with star seeds that were connected into the original G frequency, that we were your simulation, and we told you we're coming out of the simulation. Now y'all are in and holding up the simulation. And those timelines that you wrote and everything that you wrote about the collective not getting money, the collective getting sick, the collective doing this, and it's all going to now happen to your collective. It's not going to happen to the collective. It's impossible. The sun is on top of Venus is on top of the sun right now. I'm Venus. Now, that collective that wrote all that stuff is going to have to walk the Venus transits just like we did in order to get the power. How long did it take to walk all the Venus transits? More than one lifetime, I can promise you that. Hi, Mary. Now I'm getting hot. Chiron over this is right now this transit that's happening, because we've got Sun on top of Venus, we have Mars that just jumped Chiron, Uranus is involved with this whole party. Neptune is about to finish the wheel. Neptune's about to go into Aries. From everything, and if you take off VE from Venus, what do you get? Sun. Libra is ruled by what planet? Venus. Where's Arcturus? Libra. The amount of energy that they expanded the collective to went all the way out to Arcturus. Arcturus had been made and hinged, and it created a seam in between two parallel dimensions that Libra and Virgo held. If you have any Libra and Virgo energy, then you are connected to both the dark side and what we'd consider the light side in a simulation where nothing was moving. Libra and Virgo were the hinges to it. Arcturus, Sun, is massive, and it's what holds those two. The dark side and the light side is what you would call it in a simulation when the cosmos isn't moving. I mean, I've been saying this for a while. Those of us who had entered, if you were born with these connections in your family lines, and if you're adopted, this is the main reason you're adopted. The main reason that you were adopted out was so at the end of this, we wouldn't know who we were. And that we were connected into these industry plots so that they could control our collective as the children of it. Okay? So all of us that are hinged to these celebrities and that they cooked us with certain celebrities or politicians, but especially in Hollywood, when they were using our energy. This has a lot to do with Universal Studios. We've had to make a bunch of commands off Universal and Universal Studios because we've had to disconnect it from what they would call the universe. And what they would call the universe was a pillar and a pillar and a projection into Orion. That's what those contracts, and that's what the creation simulation was held on, was pillar, projection. And in that projection to what they'd consider the G was the whole universe. Like a hole in space, discounting everything on the other side of the hole. Because they've been getting away with it for so long. So to them, that's what Universal is. The entire collective in a freaking simulation bubble with no expansion, nothing. And that's how it worked for a really long time. So those of us that have been breaking this open, breaking open the handler systems, blah, 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 as we were going up in the ranks, taking out these because when the soul machine stopped, it stopped. If it stops, then there's people and things stuck in the middle, correct? So when the soul machine stopped, then that's when all of us started clearing through those different areas out in the cosmos on the other side of the dark side and inside the simulation in order to reconstruct the proper way the collective's energy should be projecting to the collective. Not under some contract hooked into a movie that they want to air to everybody so that the collective will manifest it. Not a new record that comes out and tuned in order to get a specific energetic to the collective. Abra, dabra. I'm gonna reach out and grab ya. Abra, dabra. As another example. When they made, and if you were tied to specific characters and actors, then whatever movies they make acts out in your life. Whatever movie they're on and are reading the scripts and doing it over and over and over again, it will act out in the true starseeds world. In your physical world, it becomes your life. It's written into your life. This is to the extent that this was going on. Because if it happens to the template holder, and then we have a life experience because it was broadcast through the collective seeing it, and the collective doesn't know that those characters are hinged to specific template holders, and then it becomes part of your experience as a template holder, then that projects to the entire collective. Because whatever happens to us happens to everybody down the line whenever you've cleared up, which happens in a good way and a bad way. right? It can happen. And this is where we're at. We're on the precipice of good things starting to happen to all of us, and it happening to all of us in our own way, instead of a bad thing. But it's controlling mind maps. And so this is in Mars jumping Chiron. So if you can think of Chiron is, it's a briefcase of all the characters and storylines since the beginning of all the star seeds that were on this mission, and that briefcase held all of the contracts that went wrong. Chiron held all of the contracts on every single original being that was down here, connected to the 100, connected to the 1000, connected to the 144,000, because that whole thing had to be put back together in order for everyone to come out and then hit their own frequency, which hasn't happened yet to the entire collective. That part is what we're doing right now. And what's happening is that Saturn was the sun. Saturn in the simulation and the sun basically were, the sun was projecting Saturn codes. Now those suns have lined up. The M2 sun has lined up to the Orion sun Saturn, and then Arcturus is over that, like a circle within a circle within a circle. So Arcturus is now governing M2, which is the entire solar system. Go look it up. Go look up M2 sun on Google. It'll show you. It's the entire solar system. And Arcturus and whatever that weird China sun simulation that ended up being made from all of us clearing and rebuilding the cosmos and all the times that we didn't get past the sun, which was basically Leo. So we were all stuck in the sun with ascension before now. So every time we had an ascension count, 1 to 1, which is the sun, which is a portal up here, and then right underneath it is Mars, and then right underneath that is Venus, and in between Mars and Venus is Vega, okay, which is in the middle of Capricorn. And the sun is a portal, correct? Okay. Well, every time that the collective would go through an ascension, where it ended with us being in the sun, because we never had the power before to hinge it around. It wasn't time. This is all about DNA too. This is all about DNA. Now what's happened is you're jumping those suns. That portal's been open. So so there's no cap on it up here. It's like before it was only growing and getting capped off. Well, now there's a back door that hinges to the other side of it completely. And so it's working like this now. Okay? And so what's happening right now is, again, and I'll say it again, all that used this collective energy and all the countries that were involved and any leadership that was involved in it, and this goes, all of it, no matter what sect, government, entertainment, whatever, because it's the same thing. Every single entertainer's got some type of government official that's attached to him. It's the same thing. Same unit. So they're tuned into the Saturn sun. They were able to block it because they were running the dark side. With Venus hitting right on top of the sun right now, what's happening is there's going to be two different projections to the collective. One, and this also isn't like everything in your life all of a sudden gets cleared out as Saturn. It works more like frequency and dimensional. You know how you can be driving or walking somewhere and you're in a high frequency, and then you walk over a certain place and land, or someone comes into your energy and your frequency can drop, and it goes up and down like this. Well, I mean, cuz I'm I'd be considered the one that mastered the wheel, and I still have some lessons in Saturn, cuz Saturn is projecting your lessons, Saturn's projecting your experience. So it's not like you completely clear out of Saturn. It's just that you will have certain things in your that you need to still master. And so you might have mastered some of them, but not all of them. So, and if the entire collective would have cleared the whole thing, then we wouldn't even have these lessons still to learn. But since we're all in it together and there's still stuff that we need to master, it'll still project in your world to bring that experience in. However, for the ascended and the ones that have been working to repair this, who have been about the collective, who were working with the collective, who are behind the collective, and the masses that don't know shit about this, and everybody in the world that doesn't know about this, because you got to tell everybody what you're doing to them, and they got to sign up. And that's the collective. The collective is everybody who was toyed with, that didn't know, and those of us that have been fighting for them and with them to get out. The ascended collective, those of us, if you've been healing, because the healing is the most important, because if you haven't healed your body and you haven't healed your trauma, when these energies like this happen, you're going to get triggered by it. It's going to trigger like an alarm in your system, and it's going to set off an RNA in order to project you into that experience. Okay? So Venus is in charge. Venus is basically becoming the sun in the ascended. But having walked all of the Venus transits, and Venus has all of the constructs in it, because that's what we've been purifying and ascended. That's what the divine feminine is. The divine feminine was getting Venus out of jail, because they were blaming the feminine for everything down here, but the feminine was the one keeping everything running. Now, I know all this to be true because whenever we left New Orleans in August, which there's now been a baby born on a doorstep in New Orleans just yesterday. No, day before yesterday. Or it could have been yesterday. The 30th. And that's the 4th baby. And it's been exactly 9 months since we were in New Orleans clearing this. Number 1. Number 2, whenever I pulled the G, because basically that little archway, those little archways that project, that G blew. It blew. Those 2 columns that project in together and make one little simulation bubble in a G, that blew wide open. And everybody would have been sucked through. When I got back, I had to make with string and different leather and metal, and I think this is also why they wear the little red bracelets around their wrists, okay, because this literally was a blood vein. I had to basically with all these different things on my left hand, make a glove and wrap it around certain fingers and wrap it and had to bind it with different things in order to keep it on my hand. I had to wear it for like, I don't know, I think 4 or 5 days. And what that was doing was rebuilding the mind out of Saturn. It was the connections to the human mind, which is Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is your mind. Everything that you're dealing with above Libra, you're dealing with your mind. You're not the lower half of the wheel, you're dealing with your body. The higher half of the wheel, you're dealing with your mind. And they had been controlling the higher half of the wheel this whole damn time. So literally the human mind was only programmed to a Saturn Sun simulation because it had been being done so long. Just like driving in a forest somewhere, and everybody that comes through, the first one is going to have to bulldoze through a bunch of woods, right? Because they're the first one, so they're going to have to clear the path for the car to get through. But then everybody that comes after is going to automatically want to go down that path because it's already cleared. Well, that's how the human mind got programmed into a Saturn projection, because that's exactly how it happened. So now, and this is in your mind, and these are all the different neurons and the recessive genes that were cut off from your mind and body process in order to keep everybody shrunk energetically into a controllable simulation. When I redid that, and then it was about a month later, literally the veins in my arm changed. The vein and the vascular in my left arm changed. And I knew that I was tuning it and basically had changed it in order to allow the connections that needed to in the brain to see the simulation in an alternate route. And then I had to tune my body and my mind to that set. And that's what is happening in my mind right now, as all of Mars just jumped Chiron, Venus on top of the sun, Neptune about to go into Aries, Jupiter at the blue avian degrees of Taurus. And we knew that we had blown open Sirius B, which is the mind, in Cancer, in order to get back down here. And this is part of it. So for me right now, and this is why I wanted to come on here, because we're all in this little, it's like we know something's coming. We know that the new timelines are coming. We know that we have a life raft coming in some way, but we're not seeing it. And right now, and since we're so traumatized, because I know I am. I mean, I'm and traumatized from the smallest things, like buying something on the internet, just pushing checkout on the internet, just by building something again, and having faith that it's not going to be taken over. I mean, because every single one of us that walked out of a broken handler system, nothing was moving. So it's like we had to walk all of these timelines and get our ass kicked. It's like we had to walk the whole time knowing that we were going to get to the end and get our ass kicked, and then know that since we got our ass kicked right there at the end, that the door is open. So then all we have to do is do it again in a higher frequency, and we'll get over that hump. But The timelines that are coming up right now are going to be the first ones that do that. And so it's mind gymnastics right now in order to keep your focus and projection only on the good stuff. See, now's where we all need to go listen to the manifestation stuff that and the visualization stuff that these beings have been talking about this whole time, that were not hooked into the system, because for those of us who were a part of, and like you were living in our simulation, like that was only those manifestation things weren't working for us because we hadn't completed the walk out of it, right? Okay, well now is when all of us really need to spend time every day visualizing yourself in what you know you corrected and what's coming, especially whatever you've walked, whatever family lines. If you're like me and you know that you had to claim family lines in order to claim cosmic power and blah 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 blah, you know, then you have an idea. Or, you know, because I was very clear about what it all looked like in 2021, 2022. The only reason I'm not clear about it right now is because we had to go bulldoze through so many walls. So it started making me question all of it. But the Venus Collective and the Ascended Collective have taken control of the entire projector. So literally the only thing that can stop you is believing that there's gonna be a battle at the door this time. Literally. I mean, and remember, this is complete mastery on Earth, okay? Because we're having to master our mind projections, but for the first time, our minds are not. It's like a carrot. What I'm seeing right now is a pinball machine. I'm seeing like a pinball machine, or actually, it looks more like a wooden maze and a spindle. And so the spindle, you pull the string and it's going through this wooden maze, and the spindle's not programmed, right? Because the spindle's just going and jumping and like bouncing off the different little wood curves and wherever they are. But the game board, the maze, is. So it's new mind patterns, new connectivity to all of us, new gifts is what you'd call them, that are attached to the entire Ascended Collective and to the brains of everybody down here. And Venus, this Venus mind map would be the spindle, and the maze would be the old Saturn mind map. But the spindle, whenever you let it go, it only knows that it's going and bouncing off this one and bouncing off this one and bouncing off this one. Chaos, chaos, chaos. That's what we have to overcome right now. We have to really, and it's taken work on all of our behalves in order to completely project a good outcome, because for those of us that were in it, we never had a good outcome from it. Never. It always worked against us. The whole system always worked against us. And this is why you walk what you walk. And for all the beings that are now getting sucked up into Saturn for the first time, I'm actually helping you. I'm actually helping you. The only way that you can get out of a solar simulation is to uncoil all your energy that was being utilized by the simulation. You can't go through a portal and bring the simulation with you. You have to get out of it. And this is why each person's journey is important, and each person's journey is connected to a whole bunch of others that are in the wave. In this last 7 years, we're on the finale of it. Everybody that's fixing to start their first 7 years, that book's just now opened up. It's a bunch of clean fucking paper. It depends, and we're and every being that is walking out of and uncoiling themselves by doing the right thing, by energetically getting your frequency up, by not by realizing what you're being utilized for. Because you have to realize what you're being utilized for in the matrix in order to stop it. You have to see the illusion. Then you have to uncoil from it. That journey of uncoiling from it, after a certain amount of time, gives your mind the power that all of us that have walked through this for 7 years, and we got 7 on right now, 7 years, this is how we can be so sure that we know where we're supposed to be and what's coming. Because we had to cut everything else, cut everything off of us, walk out of it, get our power back, get our energy back. I mean, not even from humans. Just take command of a dominant frequency band that's been in play for so long that it's having to be busted through in every way. If you don't have all of that in your tool belt of experiences, then there ain't no way that you can hold your mind out of a Saturn simulation. And it's why Ascension is designed the way it is. You cannot escape it. If you're in a human vessel, or you're in a vessel that was once called human, you can no longer body jump, soul jump. You're in it, baby. You're in it. And you got to uncoil yourself from it so that you can have full access to a body, mind, soul system. I'm also having to, because I've been so angry. I've been, there ain't no other way. We had to basically defeat the devil and Satan, and the galactic. It's nuts. A lot of it is our hearts were broken and our hearts were turned off. Why? Because when you're dealing with this energy, you can't have emotion. You literally cannot have emotion dealing with evil shit. Because if it triggers an emotion, then it's going to compound the experience, and the emotion's what's used to create it. So for a lot of us that have had to walk these very serious undercurrents for the collective, we basically had our hearts turned off in a way. It's why it was allowed. And so having to always be on guard, even making commands, whatever it is, whatever it's been that we've all had to do, we're basically going to have to fake it till we make it again. For me, I know that that's my answer. That's what I'm going through right now. That's why I've been so quiet on here. We're watching it happen, but also it's not just the projection of knowing what and where you need to be. It's getting into character for that to happen. And I know like for me, for instance, with the entertainment community, it's been full on freaking attack mode, to all these characters that were wrapped into the collective energetic. The truth is, some of them don't know what I'm talking about. But it didn't matter. I had to be on attack mode because I was having to claim the collective energy back from them so that there would be a way for even us and them to get out. But my point is, I've been so triggered. it's like, who would want to hang out with me in that, it's like, man, that chick's gonna freaking go off on you, right? Now we know, because we're the wise, we know why we were doing it. We knew it wasn't personal, because it obviously wasn't personal to them, because they don't even know who we are. But you better start listening to what we were telling you about these Mason contracts now. Mason contracts signed up for your whole family to support your body in a simulation. It's why so many of their ancestors and loved ones die, but they don't die. They're tied up on the dark side in order to fuel you. And if you've been messing with timelines, I guess you're just gonna have to see how it all happens. But my point is, I'm having to kind of go take some time and heal from that, and now get into the energetic of where I know I'm supposed to be, and become more of an ascended character instead of a spiritual warrior. And it's changed some, it's like the joy that I felt in 2018 whenever this first activated. It's like, I want so bad for that energy to come back in, but in that state, it's never going to be exactly the same, because we were so naive to the abuse of it. So, but this is where the mastery comes in, because it's like, every layer that we got out of that handler system, and every expansion that we went through, our character changed in some way, because you went through that experience. So, it's like, really, while you're focusing on where you want to be, what's coming in, projecting, really meditating and projecting yourself into that. It's also more than visual, into, as that character in that story, how are you gonna react, and what versions of archetype are you gonna hold? Cause it's like, for instance, I'll never be just the I'll never be in that energy like I was again, because I just know too much. But does that mean that I have to be in misery, and I can't have any joy, and I can't have excitement? No. In fact, the more joy and excitement and positive experiences that the Ascended Collective have, it's actually easier for psyops and the ones who screwed up to get out of it. Because the entire frequency of the collective goes up. It makes all the experiences better for everybody, not so sharp. And I'll just remind everybody else, we were the template holders. So whatever you did to us, NASA, all of y'all who knew what was going on in NASA, you now have to get thrown out into space without a suit and figure out how to get the fuck back in. This is why all the ones that worked with the 33 and did any type of ritual and Bohemian Grove and all that type of shit, well, now you have to be sacrificed and utilized as a source in order to elevate a different collective. It just is what it is. Whatever you use the energy and whatever you did to all of us, you have to live through it now, because you have to balance the account. And it's not even a punishment. It's the way to ascend the line. It's a way to get everything that you want without having to sacrifice and hurt people. You can do it without hurting people and be 1,000 times more powerful. But you got to do the work. Or not. But this particular elevator system that we're on right now only comes around every 1,000,000 years. The closest elevator that's going to line up to this ain't going to be around for another 993 years. So you want to do everything you can possible in order to get out of that elevator system now before it completely closes, because it won't. 993 years. Right now, we're all pulling out of the projection in order to start taking off. We had to blend everything together. Now we've got a dominant energy current. It's in the cosmos, not the simulation. So the next couple of years, that's going to build and build and build. This whole thing ain't going to be over until 2032. This whole ascension ain't going to be over until 2032. So what is that? 7-8 years. But so every single year that this comes around, we're going to have a bunch ascending in August, which is going to hit you in November. But you'll have the physical experience of being uncoiled in August, because it's how the machine works. It doesn't undo. Like if you get out early, then you kind of got to sit there and wait for the bus, because the bus is the cosmos. The cosmos can't come and do a special alignment just to pull you out. It's not how it works. You're connected into a fabric of beings. It has to be undone at the same time. But what's happening now is that it's every year a bus is coming. It was determined in May if you got on that bus or not for August. If you got on the bus, or you're hitting an elevator shaft to move up in any way, then June and July are going to maneuver you, if you stay in the flow, in order to make sure that you hit your seat on time. If you are not getting on the bus, then June and July are going to kick your ass. They're going to kick your ass just like they kicked our ass. You're going to have to lose everything. You're going to have to lose whatever it is that you're holding on to so strong with the simulation, whether that's a belief system, a money system, whatever it is. Because those of us that know what money and stuff really is, we're done fucking with it. Like, you can't. And y'all should have been helping and sending us money the whole time, because we're the ones who print it. This is how the world ran out of money. You stopped giving the money to the appropriate beings that know how to make more money for everybody. You gave it to a bunch of freaking, I don't even know what to call them anymore. And they suck it out. They don't produce more. They suck it out. And that's who was running all the credit card and everything else. So anyway. Yes, hi Excalibur. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. But I need everybody to step up and take their own power. I thank you for that. I'm a princess. I don't ever want to be a queen. That's not the point. The only reason I still have to even claim princess, because trust me, I don't. Do I act like a princess? When it comes to spiritual stuff and the collective, hell yeah. When it comes to like like the only reason I'm having to keep this princess stuff alive is because I really am. I really am a princess, always have been, but that's why I have the connections to the light and the dark in the dimensions, because of the princess that I am that was stuck in a simulation. And so it's like that's the only reason that I have to keep claiming that, is because I hold the DNA codes to complete it on every dimension for everyone attached to those DNA sequences. Is why Kate's not here no more. You had 3 different mind mapping NATO simulations, one on London, one on Saudi, and one on China. Right. So just know that I just wanted to show up and do this video real quick. I am back on TikTok. I'm under Princess Chastia, but I haven't started posting anything yet. I'm having to do all the work that I just told y'all that we were doing, as far as like my character development and what do I really now that I've been on the platform. And what's crazy is that last year, June, at the beginning of June, is when I started doing daily TikToks. And it happened all over again to where I got cut off and starting all over again. But last year, this time, and also I want to remind everybody that we do this stuff years in advance. So basically everything, and every year is repeating year after year, energetically, at least until 2032. So like everything that we did on TikTok as a AA and Chastia Collective on TikTok is gonna start hitting the collective now, this year. Everything that we did last year is gonna start hitting the collective this year. But now that I've kind of got a better idea, and the connectivity in the different socials is connected into the collective, because remember that even the mind maps and how all of this stuff works together in order to work for us has changed, and new things have been developed. And this is what a lot of the youngsters are able to utilize, that irritates us Generation Xers, because it's like, oh my God, how did you just, and they make it seem so simple too. I mean, and y'all know I'm brilliant. I'm brilliant. I'm a genius. I really am. But when it comes to technology and like following step-by-step stuff, oh my God. It's because my physics and the mind map knows too much. And my whole existence was undoing it. So it's like whenever I sit down and go, okay, all you do is open this Etsy store and then do this and do this, do this, do this, and that's it. And then you da 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 da. You know, it's that's difficult for me, believe it or not. But this is why the youngsters can do this so easy, because it is how it's programmed to work, to help us all in certain ways, because all the technology is going to work with your brain. It's connecting it to work for us. And then what happens is the platforms will start changing and mutating in order to support and help us. This is why you can't run from the tech. You can't and get out. There's no, because then you won't get the mind connections in order to project and utilize the connections. You literally have to mold the tech and dominate it to work for you. and it's a process. But once you realize that, then the rest of us realize that. So for all my Canva creators and Pinterest people and Etsy people and the pure souls that have been manifesting in this energy and in our energy, because basically that is what it is. The whole collective clearing for an ascension created our universal studio problem to begin with. Realize that if you have been able to manifest, you are manifesting in our energy, which is why we weren't able to manifest with it, because but our lot of it was being used by the industry. The reason that we couldn't manifest in that energy is because our characters and our pieces of it had been taken from us and given to celebrities or dictators. That's why you were able to manifest in that energy. Teach us. We'll teach you in the hires how to deal with what's coming, because if you haven't had any if your world has just been honky fucking dory for the past 4 or 5 years, but you're in the ascended collective and you are in a high vibe and everything that you touch just turned to gold and you were able to manifest, realize that you will have some challenges now, because now we've reclaimed it from these characters. And so that's going to go down the line. I'm not saying that you're going to have a horrible, horrible thing, but you will learn in some way where that came from. Doesn't mean that you're going to stop manifesting either. It's more so you're probably just going to have to battle for it in a weird way in your experience. But that's only because you're having to connect more neurons up here to hold that field for yourself instead of a collective field. And then your manifestation is going to get even more powerful to where you just look at something and it prints. It's not going to have to go through it. It's like circle magic. The collective coming out of the ascension is like a bunch of white magic, but circle magic, to where each one of us kind of worked in a unit. We used that energy as a collective of over 50 million of us that was getting to 5 billion, but each one of us independently, not connected into that collective energy, didn't have our full power because we had to put it in a circle. Well, whenever right now, what you're mastering is being able to hold that energetic as a pillar for the collective to become a mass projector for the collective. So anything that the brothers and sisters were dealing with in that collective circle that you might have not dealt with because you were allowed to just project, now you're gonna be met with some of that so that you understand how to hold it on your own to come out of the circle. And it isn't like the circle bind just drops. In fact, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because everyone who comes into these higher ascended dimensions with the masses, and when the consciousness opens and then they come in the consciousness, it's also why we want to pull out of that now and hold it on your own, because the frequency of that is going to change. The frequency of the manifestation realm is going to change because we've got a bunch of new beings that are in it as the masses activate. And then we've had to change the entire control system because it was all controlled. But like Ted said, it's real easy right now to get caught up in your head, and for me, I'm such an alpha, and then I mean, we've never stopped. It's been 24/7 for 7 years. You know, there hasn't been a break because we were building that big white witch, if you want to call it that, circle, which is basically just all the human gifts that we had to fight for to even keep them inside of our body. I was going somewhere with that, but now I can't remember. So, anyway, I'm going to cut this off. Right now, I'm just I have to hit when I hit this higher timeline, it's going to pull everyone up. And this is why I walked this celebrity fucking bullshit. It's why my energy, that's why I'm as powerful as I am. It's why I was sent into that corridor. It's why they cooked me instead of them. I have to and will hit this higher timeline because it's what the hell I've been doing for 4 years. So if I'm not reaching out and engaging independently, it's because right now, coming through this, I'm having to get my head straight on where exactly I'm going, because I've got the biggest compass and I've been in the middle of it for the collective. I mean, this is also linked into Lord. I mean, this is all the Epstein shit. How they were doing it, what they were doing, how they were stealing it, I mean, all of it. So anyway, I've been somewhat isolated, and I have been for over a year. I've been somewhat isolated in order to make sure that we hit that. Because it's owed to us. We've also had to demolish all the trusts, all the banking, all the trusts this past, and all this Omega Trust and all these different trust foundations we found were linked to the word Trump. This is also linked into Corpus Christi, you know, like corpse, Christi, and corporation, Corp, Christi, like, it's all these just Babylonian, techno Babylonian sims. Techno Babylonian simulation. So, go follow me over at Princess Chastia. When I come on, I'm going to be doing more training stuff on Cohu 32, like I started doing on this channel in 2021 before all hell broke loose in Anaheim. And so it'll be more of a dailies, like here's the energy for the day, here's the colors for the day. Because realize, even if you don't know your Cohu 32, and I could use your support in getting the website back up. Like we made the moves to get the website back up. It was taken down illegally. It shouldn't have been taken down. We've been trying to get it back up, but then I was blocked until we got through this beginning of June to do anything else with it. But Cohu 32 is going on in the cosmos, and all these energies and how the planets are lining up in those star systems are telling us, even if you don't know what energies you are, what's happening in the realm right now, and then how to utilize that. So I'll be doing more on TikTok when I come back on. I'll be doing more stuff like that. And then allowing what we're doing there to change everything else and not be so hyper focused on everything else, which is what we've had to be for the collective coming through this as a leader. So it's like now we've landed. We've landed the ship. The ship is landed. It's landed. We hadn't come off of it yet. It's landed. We put the little feet down. The ship is on top of the whole simulation. The little feet. They're taller than me. Those feet are like 6 feet tall. There's a bunch of them. They're sitting on top of the sun simulation. We're in the capsule. We're all like still getting everybody out of cryo, waking everybody up. Everybody's getting some food. Some woke up. Some have been awake the whole time. The rest are in cryo, and they're ready to freaking jump off the ship. They're like, oh my god, if I'm one more second on this ship, I'm gonna lose my cookie cutter, which would be me. That's my energy. Others are just now opening their eyes. Others are like, oh my god, I'm starving. How long have I been asleep? 2,000 years? What the fuck? Chastia! And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm sorry, man. Yeah, you just woke up. It's been 2,000 years. So y'all are all walking around the ship having little conversations with each other, going, what the hell happened down here, and what are we gonna, when we walk off this ship, what are we gonna see? And in the back end, that's what's blaring over the speaker is what we're gonna see when we walk off that, because we're programming it before we get off that ship. Okay. Well, and I ordered that too. I ordered everybody to get their directions. And any celebrity stuff that you see, if one of them pops up or in your feeds or pops up, what if it's random and you're like, where the hell? By the end of the weekend, know that I ordered the ones that didn't know that are working in our favor to be seen this weekend. Not the ones that were collectively attacking or doing any type of binding spells. So if any of those type energies show up around you, that's what it is. And realize I'm not a celebrity groupie. This is how the simulation was made. All it's like kings and queens were a thing of London, but what was running the world was hybridized DNA strands of all of our royal lines, making of a character that was then broadcast and projected into the collective, especially at the end of days. So we're not worried about the celebrity. We know that the celebrities were cleared to hold large groups of DNA sequences. So why we're watching is to see which ones are working for us and which ones just need to be completely taken out. I'm just letting you know that this weekend, as part of that process, what we called for is for those who are helping us to be seen. so that we know who to support in order to help ourselves. Okay. So I'm going to let y'all go. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the ship. Thank you and congratulations. Congratulations for making it to landing. Congratulations. Everybody's breathing machines were working on the back end. Command all of your REM and shadow lineage, because that's what we've been calling in. It's why y'all are getting some direction now, because we've been calling in all of the shadow pieces to now merge. And a portal mirror went up. A portal mirror went up on the 29th or 30th. And what that means is that way out in the cosmos, there's a bigger mirror outside. So it's like if you got way up here and everything was hooked into you down here by either all the people or architecture or whatever it is, now there's a mirror that's gone up to show us the moves that were made in our stead. And today the bottle breaks. The old bottle. The smaller mirror, the whole vacuum thing, that breaks today. That's how we're going to start mirroring it to line things back up. But realize that's your right and your left brain, and that's also your right brain getting the download on showing you that when they drove the car through the jungle the first time to make that road on the right, they should have gone left. And it's probably going to be something as simple as that, because it'll be something to the root that changes the whole thing. So you're like, oh shit, all I got to do is go back and go left this time and be like, okay, we need some axes, we need some weed cutters, and I need about 10 dudes. Let's go make a new path. Everybody, and then that's it. Yeah. Because as soon as you make that path, then everything that was done on this side is going to mirror to this side and course correct it. Ted says the Lemurians are ready to help us. The Lemurians, that's good news. I'm glad to hear that. But the Lemurians, I mean, that's what we are. The original Atlanteans. Lemuria was first. Atlanta was produced from Lemuria. And this is everything to do with water and ocean stuff. More so ocean stuff, and then how that reflects into space. Stuff in the ocean and how it changes space. And that reminds me, because when I've got a whole of the mermaid from Mu. Well, and I've called for publishers, I've called for video game developers, because we can make a badass video game teaching everybody the archetypes and teaching the whole world their powers and gifts and what karma you get for using it by making one video game. And it would actually change the game, because it's how they did it to begin with. It's like the Lemurians were the base root of the simulation. It's the best way to put it. The Lemurians were the base root of a flat Earth simulation. They'd be kind of at the bottom, and then Atlantis was built on top of that. It's also the Antarctica anomaly, or the Atlantic, all that stuff that's at land tick. So that's at LAN, angle alpha N, which is bridge, or zeta, which are, omega, which is the finish of it. Connect IC. Well, IC is everybody's, and especially the beings that were Gaia. Lemurians would be what Gaia, Lemurians and would be what Gaia became, but realize that Gaia is a program off an original Terra Earth frequency because Terra died. Gaia was there in order to back it up. This is how the collective did this together. The collective brought back in the planet and the cosmos, not one being old as fuck. Oh man, we could do so much because you've got 32 archetypes. Talking about the video game stuff, I mean, you got 32 archetypes, not 5, not the Avengers, not X-Men. You've got 35. I mean 30. Oh, I said 35. Interesting. 32 archetypes that we have printed for Cohu 32. But it's cosmic energy in different dimensions. I mean, I'm not a video game player, but I mean, it is how the realm's set up. Basically, we would set up a video game to show you how the simulation works and give you levels. But then as you go and prove every level, like in the game, it's happening in your life. Same time. CK, maybe that's why I was saying 35. I was picking you up. All right. Keep your mind in a good spot. If your mind's roaming all over, I haven't been able to sleep either. I haven't been able to sleep the past 2 nights, which is not normal for me. I'm up here in North Texas, and it's been one storm after another, after another, after another. And if when you see Texas in a storm, or go look at the radar and look what else is coming undone when Texas is coming undone. It's that whole storm for the past 2 days, the one that flooded Dallas, that was linked to Winnipeg, Canada. The one this morning was clearing Corpus Christi, but we just disconnected there. Yes, that's what I'm saying, CK. That's why I'm on here. That's why I wanted to come tell y'all what's going on. What's going on is we're having to hold that. We can't get off the ship until everybody understands what's going to happen when we get on the ground, because we're having to project it. And this is like a little battle in your mind that's going on right now. So there's 2 groups of us. There's a group that's like been manifesting their balls off, and then they've hit a little bit of a plateau, and so they're frustrated. And then there's all of us who just got out of war on their behalf that aren't used to anything, that are used to walking the same steps that the manifesting collective was doing, except for us, none of it worked. But it was working for the manifesting collective. Now, the manifesting collective is a little bit on a pause because the warrior collective is on board now. So it's having to be disseminated and energetically balanced. But the whole world's going through it because of the planets, and how Mars going over Chiron is literally everything manifesting on how the whole world got caught up in a simulation. Now that Mars is in, and Mars is freaking over Chiron, and it's in Andromeda, which Andromeda and Pleiades aren't in the book. Andromeda and Pleiades is 100% written by the collective. So we're literally rewriting space right now. So do whatever, concentrate on what you want to happen next. Know that it's coming. Do not let your mind fuck with you at all. And start visualizing when that happens, what are you going to wear? When that happens, how are you going to act? When that happens, who do you want there? When this when you get this or when you move there, who's going to be around you? What is it going to look like? How did you get there? What kind of car did you drive to get there? Da 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 da. How are you going to perceive? How are you going to be perceived? When this trigger happens, how are you going to react? How do you want to react? How do you want everyone to see you? How do you want to be recognized and known? That's where we're all at right now. That's where we need to be. And whatever you need to do in order to buy time in between it, to where everybody else is woken up from cryo, everybody's awake now, everybody's been fed, everybody's had a couple of nights sleep. We've got now we're gonna have a meeting and kind of plan out how this all works, but that hadn't even happened yet. People are still waking up. You've been asleep for 2,000 years. You've been asleep for 2,000 years. That's what's going on. In the collective right now. So if you can imagine the whole ship, everybody finding out, we got lost in space and we were in there for 2,000 years. And by the way, they stole all of your mind programs and all of your history and we're making new characters about it. That's how the fuck we stayed gone for 2,000 years. Yeah, that kind of depressed the ship. I'd say that. So we're in shock a little bit. But then we're like, oh my God, we're the ones who came here to save it. We're the ones who rewrote this whole damn thing. We were the one, like, da 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 da. We got this. That's what those of us at the top are having to get our mind straight so we can hold it for the crew and the rest of everybody else and having to stay there. That's why ours is getting pulled on, because these other ones have doubt. But the more these that are sure of it and remember that was the mission, and that if they've been running the world with our characters, then, and we just claimed our characters, then shouldn't be too hard. And by the way, we've been busy while y'all were, some of you asleep, were in cryo. We've been really busy. Every door that we went through and blew open, now it's not a door. Now you just got to jump over it. So just remember that. That's where we're at right now. And I keep seeing June 6th, 2021 is when we brought down the monarchy. So now it's been 3 years. And I'm talking about all those DNA lines that would ever be considered monarch or Merovingian. Because this is Merovingian kings have been taken out. This is pre-Merovingian that's having to step in. Because the Merovingian king line blew. It blew. It's completely taken over. We had to go pre. What game? The one that you're going to help me build. It's actually how the whole thing works. I'm a neurophysicist. I was also in charge of, I still am, connecting all these different dimensions and DNAs and the different archetypes that the planets produce and what that does in your body and what gifts and energetic response in your body when you line it up, you receive. So I'm talking about building and designing a video game that shows the world ascension. And you can play it without the game. You're in it right now. I'm just talking about building a video game that shows you how it works instead of going in it blindly. Where did I used to work? Well, I was in technology consulting from 1996 to 2018 in the energy corridor of Houston, real estate corridor, all oil and gas technology. Were my big industries. I did do some video game stuff with Red Ant in 2001, 2002. But just to give y'all an idea of how quick technology took off, in 2002, I was in Austin and I was working with Red Ant. Red Ant was a video game company that designed all your original Xbox video games. And they were looking for video game designers that could animate a person and lip sync them, have them talk. People from California were sending me VHS tapes to show me that they could do it. That was 22 years ago. That's how archaic all of it was, even in 2002. Just to wrap your mind around it. ExxonMobil, Dynegy, ExxonMobil. My biggest one was ExxonMobil. I had over 70 people out at ExxonMobil. That was in the early 2000s. ExxonMobil, Dynegy, Eagle Global Logistics. I did a little bit of stuff with Shell Texaco, not a whole lot. Trying to think of any other bigger clients. I had a bunch of little ones that I sprinkled in with ExxonMobil, but then I opened up when I left Houston, I came here to Dallas and started branching out more into retail, although oil and gas was always my specialty because I was so involved with SAP. And SAP is ASP script. And SAP was only running oil and gas frequencies for the entire planet, but then it started running human energy codes, and now we know that's how the simulation was built to begin with. So I was in technology with the big boys in Houston when they were building all the Unix boxes and the databases, not the internet stuff, the plumbing of how the simulation is being run now. And it blew my mind when I started because I got shock activated 2017. It blew my mind when I started working with people who proclaim to be technology people in the like .com world, in like San Francisco world, because none of them had any idea of how the guts of the data worked. They were only used to working with open systems, and none of them really had any idea what the plumbing was of the whole system. I went to 7 schools in all. I had 203 credit hours when I finally graduated because I kept moving. I tell people I have a PhD in an undergrad. But I got my degree at University of Houston, Bachelor of Arts, specialization in advertising. It was a journalism degree. But I went to 7 schools, counting junior colleges and all. But I was always here with these codes the whole time. I'm an AB negative adopted baby in the Vatican. I ain't no normal nothing. And there was a bunch of people that knew it, and there was a bunch like me. But yeah, I was in technology meeting with VPs, CIOs, all the directors, managers. In fact, none of them could do some of the projects without me in the middle because we were always bridging dimensions. That's why they had me at ExxonMobil. I had an office at ExxonMobil. Every single contractor that went through to ExxonMobil, which if you know, everybody over there in technology is in contract, went either through the company I worked for or a different one. We had a monopoly on the whole thing, and I had an office there. They couldn't have done that deal without us there. Yep. And the reason I could undo the technology and I see it so clear is because I never did the tech. I was in consulting. I never actually programmed it. I sat in the meetings and was helping them figure out how to construct it, find the people that they needed in order to get it done, but I never actually programmed it. And it's how I can see it so clearly, how it really works. It's almost like telling nurses that there is no disease. It's really hard for a nurse that's witnessed everybody dying in front of them to accept that there is no disease, that it's man-made. But same thing with tech. Technology is literally Babylon. Everything's named what it is in order to manifest an artificial system. Technology is Babylonian codes, even down to Java, C Sharp, what C Sharp really is, how it was this plus plus merged on top of each other. Like the whole atmospheric simulation is built off. Tech codes became Babylonian constructs that they just renamed. Well, I don't. When you say bridge dimensions, what do you mean? Are they communicating with something? Well, it depends on which. You got to realize that the simulation can't run without a true human being. But you got to realize that the simulation was being run off human beings that were titans, that were actually cosmic giants. The whole thing with ABO blood and the end of days and how it was all set up was in order for those being basically the beings of us that held the simulation are the ones nobody knew about that was holding the simulation. And that comes from the wheel and all these different M suns over millions of years, and then projecting into the simulation. Cause like for me, because my company was called GIA Technology. I mean, I was the main brain building Gaia, even though I didn't know I was when I was in technology. It's so hard to explain. And I just got cut off from answering anymore. It's what M suns are. M suns are Masons, but they're M suns. There's 53 of them that ended up forming your constellations and how you appear constellations, but over billions of years. Fixed stars move. It takes 1 million years. From Libra and Virgo in the wheel it's basically, because Libra is, if you think of a ball in the middle of the galaxy that's holding light from the human race, and then all the darkness on the other side that the human energy doesn't hit, that's in the dark, that's Libra. So the whole wheel had Libra as a gate and a hinge because it was balancing all of it in order for the human to hold the energy. And so Libra was cut out of the wheel and basically used as a bridge. But that's millions of years of DNA bridging it. But yes, it became a bridge. It's not what it started. But this is your recessive genes in your body. There was only 0.0248% of human DNA left down here in 2017 when we activated. The human DNA had been distorted and changed because it had been in the simulation for so long. The dark side is your recessive genes activating. It's what AB negatives are. Like, I had everybody's recessive genes. We just had to activate them and connect them back. But whenever you do that, it does connect your etheric body from the dark side, which is how you become so powerful down here, wielding air, wielding thunder, wielding this, wielding that. That's because your etheric body is now connected to the other half of you. And the whole simulation has blown. So, and when the eclipse happened, April 8th, what it did was basically blow every being's etheric body out as far as it would blow, because it had been shrink wrapped to fit into a simulation. That same thing happened to my collective August 21st, 2017. And then it took us 7 years to walk it back down to be able to explain what I'm explaining right now. This collective that's blown out this year is going to have 7 years to walk it, same way we did. But realize that my collective that walked it created avenues out and basically had to master every single human program to get out, because that's what they put on the human race. That's why nobody could get out. If like what you had to do to get out, you'd have never been able to do on your own without death stored up and everything else. Like, but the collective together produced the knowledge to do it, because that's how AB negative and O blood was set up. O blood is basically everybody in the O race was running off in AB negative's brain. And because AB negative was the plasma. That's why they were making AB negatives. That's why you got a Biden-Trump fucking fiasco. Top secret. Yeah. Top secret according to who? Because they should have let us out. I mean, this was a government plan. I was put in a chamber in 1983 by the head of the Air Force for this. The fact that they didn't tell everybody and let us out is the problem. So top secret for who? It ain't top secret anymore at all, because it's all been completed. But according to them, yeah, this would be blacked out information. Interesting, because Locust just came up. Loki energy? Yeah, Loki and the body has chakra system, right? And you have a star chakra, you've got all these different chakra points and this is all about being crysted in your coccyx, in your third eye, connected to your coccyx cable, which is the bottom of your spine. When you activate that, those chakra systems can go out to hundreds of thousands of chakras, connected to all the cosmic alignments that were ever made to create your specific sequence, what it is right now. It turned the whole thing on. And all your chakras shoot straight up and straight down to connect into the energetics that made you. It's how the system naturally works. The organic tech that they stole was the Cosmos DNA blood system. This has all been about blood. It ain't it. The tech is just an effect of the cause. In the simulation, and when we and I mean, realize there was, I mean, like, this whole system had to be recreated again because the entire human race had basically been shrink wrapped. Your chakras were shrink wrapped. All of your chakra systems that were connected into the cosmos had been cut and solely existing off a C3 connection to manage you by propaganda, tech, and subliminal codes. It's why whenever your etheric body starts turning on, everything is opposite. And it's how you can see it, because now you're going a different direction. I was worked over by the government. Yes, the government put me in the first hypobaric chamber, which looked like a giant submarine, when I was 11 years old in 1983, underneath Texas A&M, by PhD Fife, who was the head of the Air Force and lived in Stalin's mansion and talked to Kim Jong-un on a daily. Yes. CIA and Sirius, same thing. All the power that they have comes from what I'm speaking to you now, but the binding of a collective to do it. The government was taken over with Nixon. Watergate, that's when MJ-12 and these galactic entities, because this was end of days. This was a fight to save the human race, which is why we're done battling with stupid humans. Like, the government originally set up this system that I'm speaking of for a good purpose. It was all for end of days, because AI was what would have taken over the human race. We only had 4 seconds on it in the end. We had 4 seconds on AI. That was it, because this was a wide open human creation process that had to be redone and is redone every million years. But most of the collective was asleep to it, which is why I was hidden here, and why a majority of us were hidden here. Because there's a recreation process connected into the cosmos, because the whole thing is a giant birth canal. It takes a million years, but that was wide open. So basically, the human race was up for reprogramming, and the human race was asleep to the fact and almost just got completely taken over. The government originally set this up knowing this, but that hyperbaric chamber is not a tanning bed like you see now. This was a submarine, and they dropped me 25 feet below sea level. And now I know they were making me connect lower dimensional timelines in Texas in order to bind it to the past and basically rerun World War II over again. Plus, they were using our psychic abilities that we didn't know that we had in order to bind us and make us connect and do things in these different etheric patterns that they aren't able to do. So there's entire collectives of us that can dream walk, that can lucid dream, that are prophetic. Whatever we say happens. Like, all of those are true human gifts that the whole collective, the whole masses is awakening to. But especially since 2000, most of the money that the government has spent has been in order to handle and control the narrative of the beings that have these capabilities for the collective. Not on anything else. All they were doing was fucking with us in order to have us project a false narrative or to control the narrative, because our powers are connected into the entire collective. Where they had screens to look through to spy on everybody, we had everybody's eyes because it's from the inside. This is what you'd call Christ consciousness. But the only reason that you're calling that is because, according to the books that have been told since Christ had the 3 DNA sequences from the 3 different dimensions in order to put it back together again. That's why Christ is the body of the collective. It's 3 different original DNA sequences that were merged together to make a trinity. That's how everything ran off Tesla codes 369 in a simulation. But that 33 Christ code only breaks open the 33rd dimension. Then all your stuff comes in. Then it's off to the races. It only gets you so far. Then you go down your own black hole in order to connect all of your ancestors' abilities and knowledge, because it's how Earth was. You're supposed to get here and know exactly what you're supposed to do, and who, and your family dropped off the bags. Everybody was supposed to be finishing and completing things within their family lines, and everything done in the world was done to stop that from happening. So every time that you got back here, you didn't remember. And most of us weren't even dying. We didn't even leave. It was like it was soul processing what was going on here. Well, the Anunnaki is a made-up word in order to give you a family line to put in all of those DNA sequences. The Akashic libraries that I walked, that you'll walk to get out of it, are the truth of those Anunnaki lines, which started, with Egyptian stuff. Aliens are ancient humans kept from their bodies because our body was trapped in a simulation. Our body, it's like they're Arcturians look, and the true Arcturian is more like a jellyfish. It's more like a jellyfish amoeba being, okay? Why? Because Aries had our bones. Like, you have to realize that the whole human body and everything is projected into this density in a wheel that's polarized within every house energetic system. Those energies in the houses come from the stars that are associated to those houses, and it's not flat. Sagittarius goes way out. It's not flat. You got to remember that when you're looking at the wheel. It's more like an amoeba. But you got to remember that those of us who walked all of this and are remembering the entire mission, it's way more than one lifetime. And then you have to remember that beings like me, we're processional beings. We came down every 12,000 years, 24,000 years. When Nibiru, people call it Nibiru, but when Nibiru got close, then our energies started merging from the parallel. The alien would be a manifestation of what was walking on the bridge from one parallel reality to another. But aliens are alpha angle. What's EIN? EIN is made by companies, corporations, like literally. So all the experimentation that was done and all the crap that was done to humans so that on these 12,000 year, 24,000 year, million year counts, it wouldn't connect. When it didn't, then and if we came in, it didn't connect. So when we leave, it leaves a slug trail attached to it. That's where the alien would be manifest. But it's really just an ancient human coming in on a cycle in order to complete it. Because the ancient humans are projected from all your pyramid systems. It's body templates. It's why your Egyptian pyramids were here. It's why some of us had tombs. All of that was a plan, the original plan for now, in order to make sure that we had human bodies and that didn't get taken over by AI. And human bodies projected together in a collective, and there's different body templates for different frequencies. They had made the whole thing stop, and we're utilizing that pyramid tech, and nothing was moving. Hinged to all of us that had to come in, come out, come in, come out, 12,000 years, 24,000 years, a million years, that left some slug trails. Those slug trails would be your M1, M2, M3, M4, M5, M6. Because this is the merger of spheres. Like, this is... everything's expanding, moving up into a higher frequency as the rest of the collective uncoils. But all this is what was kept from the human race because they don't want anyone to think they're special. And they don't want any of us to know what our gifts and powers were, and they definitely don't want us to know that we're all connected. There's only 32 human programs down here, period, dot. Every single one of us is living one of those 32 different subsequences of programs. But there's only 32. You might have 2, 4, 8, 22, 31, and 30. When Jane's got 14, 15, 16, 1, 22, you see what I'm saying? But there's only 32 programs in a simulation. We're all going through the same shit. That's what they don't want you to know. That's why I got clicked. I mean, yeah, they've taken over all my domains. Because I was the one here in order to teach all y'all. This should have happened if they wouldn't have messed with me in 2012 and stole my company and took over the star codes and projected everyone in an Obama false illusion. Like, we wouldn't even be going through this. And this wouldn't have happened this quick. Like, humanity's having to jump an evolutionary count because everything blew up. Nobody had the right consciousness. This is all stuff everybody knows. You know this. You're just being reminded it. It's why when I do say some things that trigger you, go research it for yourself. If you heard anything on this video that triggered you, anything, go research it on your own. Because if it triggered you, then there's something there that you need to see to widen your perception, to open up more understanding of it. And once you understand it and it comes into your mind, then your mind processes it, then it projects into your reality. But everything that you intake into your brain projects into reality. This is why they had so many developers, and India started doing mass H1s, and Canada started doing mass T1s, and they all came into the United States under what disguise? Technical developers. Well, if all the technical developers are in the same consciousness because they know the development codes, what are they projecting? A simulation. Because that's how it worked. I hope that helped, and I appreciate the questions. Well, DNA is just Dan. I mean, that's tribe of Dan. AB blood was plasma. It's what everything was running off of. Just is what it is. AB negatives are only born into a line whenever the line needs to mutate. Kind of like double simians. When double simians are born in a family, it's time for it to be balanced. What they had done is take over the whole process and were making their own AB negatives to control the the masses, and then they put everybody into AB negative training with social media. And AB negative is everybody's karma, and if you're AB negative, you're doing everybody's karma. Remember when in the Bible, whenever Jesus washed the feet of the 12 disciples, the only way that we could get out of this was knowing and being a part of every single one of the karmic plans. If we wouldn't have cleared all the karma of every single family down here, we would have never been able to notice the subtleties to get out. That's what our family lines and the Essenes and the Egyptians did for everybody else. You can believe us or not. If you don't, then now the families that whatever karma cycle that we cleared, that we're here teaching you and telling you and you're witnessing, but nobody, if you don't want to believe it, then you'll go walk your family's karma to show you so that you can pull the rest of them out. But that is what it is. And I'm saying all that because this application right here worked with Ben Labs and is run on AB frequency patterns. And you ain't never gonna meet somebody with a worse life experiences and traumatic events down here than an AB negative. Never. Because we were living everyone's karma. O negatives cleaned karma for the O's. B negatives clean karma for the B. RH negative just didn't have RH monkey gene. We were always in space on what you'd consider the dark side. But that's why RH negative was made in World War II. But we had to come in and clean a whole bunch of karma really quick. And you see, the collective can't even get along, and we've already blown the whole thing out. But that's what RH negatives had, a lot of different powers on the dark side. In our recessive genes, we had telepathy. We could manifest and do things, but it wasn't coming to us. It was going to the collective inside the monkey gene bubble. Now no monkey gene. Basically, the whole world is becoming RH negative because because it's expanded out. Muffin top gone, boom, busted out of the cake. Now the entire genome and the human is now going to experience things more like an RH negative because you got to clean the space. There's no RH blood factor, and the monkey gene held you in a bubble to where you were protected from it. Now there's no protection. You've got to breathe the space. This is why lungs and they convinced everybody about the COVID, but it's not. You're processing space. Because your RH negative fucking cleanup crew ain't doing it for you because the RH negatives were taken over by AI. All about blood. This is all about blood and human and human physiology. The Bible too. This is the time that we're not going into the age of Aquarius. We finished the wheel. If you want to put an age in the Aquarius, what was on repeat? That was the problem. If you want to put an age on it, which really we're kind of out of the age of ages. Very shortly within the human history, the timeline that we just got out of, and I mean from the 1920s, will be known as the Barbarian Age. But if you want to put a house age on it, we're in the age of Sagittarius, which if you go look it up, the age of Sagittarius is at the end of the coil, and so far out into what you'd perceive, but because there is no time, remember? So far out to what you'd perceive is the future linked to the past that it hasn't happened yet. Because the human race completed what we came here to complete, the human experiment. And now we have a human body that's connected into the collective that can hold all of the cosmic power and actually enough brain centers in order to connect the right and the left brain in order to manifest live in the physical. But it's the first time ever. That's what the ages were. Human race just got caught in a loop on the in-between and kept going it over and over and over and over and over again because we all became unconscious to why what we were really here and what it was all for. Everything, including World War II, that's karma for what they're doing right now. And I'm talking about the JEWSs. They're just now getting the karma. They got the karma then for what they're doing right now. Because there is no time, especially in a wide open ascension gate. Because as you're bringing in recessive genes and connecting to the dark side, what you're doing, that's why we're next to a black hole right now. Whenever you connect and your etheric body connects, then you're basically unwinding yourself. And through the process of ascension, you will learn exactly who you are, where you came from, what DNA strands you were attached to, and especially all the bad shit that happened with that power. Because the nature of the matrix and its polarity is literally every single gift that you have is mirrored back at you because of the density layer of the space. So if you have if you're prophetic and whatever words you speak manifest, then in a dense polarized density, it's gonna slap you in the freaking face. Like, you're basically if you have prophetic words, then your words are gonna basically attack you. If you have sexual energy power, then and your energy is connected more into feminine and the sacral to the feminine codes and the feminine collective, then your sexual energy in some way will be utilized against you, whether you're having sex or not. But it'll come in the form of somebody doing sex magic on you or cult type shit, that you're having to unwind, that's collective in nature. Like, that's because you're a high energy being in a low vortex. Every single one of what you'd consider my fathers in my highest frequency, when they came down here, they lost their mind. Because the brain was so hyperactively strong in the higher dimensions, but whenever you incarnate in this level of density, it gets split. It's what created Gemini. So literally what I'm telling you is that in these lower dimensions, the most mean, bad, evil fuckers are the most sweet, humble, smartest ones in the higher realm, for the most part. As far as nature. I'm not talking about nurture. That's different. As far as nature. The human body couldn't hold it. That's why the hybridization started. That's why I allowed them to put me in the chamber. This is what the human race was always building and constructing, was the ability in the human mind to hold this level of knowledge and frequency and power without exploding. It's why we do it as a collective. There is no human being down here that can hold this amount of power and not go evil or lose their mind. It's happened throughout history. Crowley would be a great example. All of the seven Advent people that did all their crazy, weird ass shit was all a man, usually a man, trying to hold feminine cosmic energy currents. And you can't, you'll lose it. I hope that helps explain. I really do appreciate the questions. I really do. Because there's so much to this. This is by far, 1,000 lifetimes worth of information. But it's what's connecting into every single one of you too. It's why you're seeing the corners now. It's how it's devised. Because the lights are turned on for everybody. What degree in Gemini? Do you know? Number one, my first, you got a master Sagittarius. Everything that I'm talking about on how it came, because Gemini is mirrored from Sagittarius. Sagittarius is what's attached to the dark side. Okay, well, 15 degrees Gemini, that's raw consciousness is what I call it. It's basically what we're all moving into. If you think of Sagittarius and you think of all the tombs and you think of everybody buried underground in sedation from the most ancient, okay, you in the wheel, if you think Sagittarius is over here and all those bodies are underneath the ground and they form simulation and sedation layers, which you see in your geology and XYZ, right? Well, the deepest ones of that, the body codes, project into 12 to 16 degrees of Gemini. And then they kind of go in a toroidal field to where at the beginning of degrees of Gemini, it's going to hold more density within. On the end degrees of Gemini, the density is external. So a north node in Gemini would be remembering that and merging the dark and, because we're all dark and light. That's the thing. There is no good, there is no bad. Whatever was bad that happened to you in the physical was a physics move that will end up helping you and the entire collective, including how World War II and all this is going to end up being how we got out. I'm just letting everybody know. Like, you think of it from a human perspective as it's bad because bad things might be happening to some people. But in an overall physics plan of having to Hail Mary into the human race and freaking pray that we get all this connected enough in order to get out so that the whole world just doesn't become unconscious again as the simulation starts back up. Because that's what's happening now. What you'll learn is that it was all, nobody's dying that don't need, you die whenever your karma runs out. You die whenever your lifetime runs out. Problem is, they were stealing lifetimes with moon energy and moon mansions and moon magic, and you had Middle Eastern religions, that's all they did was build moon mansions and forsake their body. And then you had Western religions that all it was about the body. And the truth is, both of them have to work together. You got to be you when you get down to the bottom of it, Christ and Buddha are basically the same being, split. Christ would be the character inside the simulation, making it all happen. Buddha is the construct. And all the timelines and dimensions that were built on top of that phonetic religion stuff inside the Babylonian stuff. Technology just copied all of that. Oracle databases are made from Mayan astrology geogrids. You can't build compartments to hold data in tech without compartments that held DNA data in the ground. It's just mirroring. And fifth house is about children, romance, kind of like not love, like romance, like passion, romance type stuff. Forbidden love or stopped love and career and your career. So somehow you mastering your north node is what some of what you're going to be doing for the collective and assisting the collective and whatever that is on the move forward is involved in it. But it could be linked into like star-crossed lover stuff or orphan children, even like from the orphan train, stuff like that. Because I mean, that's how the AB negatives ended up being made, was separation for long periods of time. I know, it still blows my mind that I know all this stuff. And when it comes in like this, you do. You just know. You just know. You just know how it works. You figure it out, and then in some sense of their way in your reality, you'll walk it. Whether it be on a big stage or just by you having some weird interaction with the grocery store clerk. Somebody's going to have a weird reaction with the grocery store clerk. And that's also Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Walt Disney and Tesla were twins. Hear what I'm telling you. The Gemini twins became Disney and Tesla. Tesla codes inside a simulation create Disney creative projects, but those Disney shows projected the collective into a 369 simulation. Tesla math creates creativity. It's why I do so much phonetic math, because whenever I do it and I undo it and I put it in correct sequence, what I'm building is a scene, a scene, a scene, a scene in the reality, just like Disney. But Tesla math does create scenes, reality projections. It doesn't create more math. This is longer than I wanted it to be. 134 minutes, 2 hours. So I love y'all. It's 3:41. 3:41. The bottle's breaking today. Go back and listen to this if you need to later. You might also, I want to say, you might have some weird stuff, little bitty crystallized things coming out of your skin. I've been pulling them out of these like lines underneath here. And like if you have any of these pop up in your eyebrows because it's closer to your eye, they're like your membrane system is birthing out of any DNA blocks that you put in your field. If you get the eyebrows, this is why a lot of them shave their eyebrow right here. Or if you are one that doesn't have eyebrows grow in these, is because the discs were always placed right in the eyebrow in order to operate this vascular right here in order to hold a false projection. So these will pop out of your eyebrows at weird times. Know that when it does, it's clearing. When this one came out, my whole eye, like all across here, started freaking tingling and freaking out. And you gotta dig it out. Dig it out, and then it'll become like a little crystallized scab. Let the scab form, and then pull the scab straight out. Kind of dig in it. You'll see something in there. Let a scab form. Then get your tweezers and pull the scab straight out of whatever. Whenever you have one of these come out, because the scab will form to whatever is inside the skin, and it'll help you grab it and pull it out. But it's just like paper dolls. They're just little tags that were connected into other frequencies. And when these come out, because we're birthing into a full body controls, then it changes your energetic. So just know when you start pulling these out and then you get a little sad or depressed or whatever, it's also because your energy now is connecting directly to you more or protruding out more collectively. And that's why it's having to balance, because you pulled out your little tags. Okay? All right. Love y'all. My arm hurts.